every time I've already started the video, haven't I? well. So, talking about it, as it were. Welcome back, everyone. Sylvain Dance 98 back at it again with the next part of the complete history of Super Sentai. This will be part one of the Heisei Era. Hope I said that right. Yeah, the Heisei Era, where we are dealing with, I think this is the Go Rangers, I think? Or is this... Man, there's so many car-themed teams in this series, I tell you. Oh, boy, yeah. So, we're going to be going more through the Heisei Era, and going to be enjoying more of them as we continue on with the compilation, complete history of Super Sentai, of the Toku franchises, multiverse. I don't know, I feel like that title's gotten too long. Whatever works. But anyway, let's get into it and check out what the Heisei Era's first part of it has to offer.
1989 brought us a vehicle-themed Sentai in Kosuku Sentai Turbo Ranger, or High Speed Sentai Turbo Ranger, kicking off the Heisei Era. This season would start with a continuation of Sentai's 10-year anniversary celebration, where in the very first episode we would see previous teams alongside Turbo Ranger.
Hey. Oh.
It's worth noting that this was not the 10th Sentai, but at this time, Go Ranger and Jaka were still not officially recognized as Sentai seasons yet. In Turbo Ranger, a team of high schoolers are brought together by Dr. Dazai and a fairy named Silon to become Turbo Ranger and fight against the 100 Boma tribes. This season sadly had 0 roll calls.
Oh, that's sad.
In 1990, Super Sentai introduced a team of siblings who work as teachers when they aren't fighting the Zone Empire. The Hoshikawa siblings were the first sibling team in the history of Sentai, and in pre-production, this show had the working titles of Vector Man and the hilariously bad Brother Man.
When you have siblings like brothers and sisters, and the concept was Brother Man. Glad someone workshopped that. That was a horrendous title in the making.
1991 saw the introduction of a dynamic and exciting bird-themed Sentai called Chojin Sentai Jetman. After gaining powers via birdonic waves, Jetman would take on the Dimensional War Party Vyram, and this series was famously inspired by Kagaku Ninja Tai Gatchaman, the classic anime that inspired Sentai, featuring a squad of bird-themed heroes. After Five-Man failed to achieve the success that Toei had hoped, Jetman was planned to be the final Sentai in the series. But due to Jetman's success, the Sentai franchise would obviously continue. Jetman would make a few changes from the previous seasons, and those changes, along with the unique bird theme, resonated strongly with fans. When the season began, the team was incomplete until recruiting 2 additional members, and this was a first for the series. Additionally, before Jetman, heroes were referred to mostly by their color on the team, but this show featured the heroes being referred to mostly by their names, something quite unusual at the time. Jetman also borrowed from romantic dramas that were very popular in Japan at the time, even featuring a love triangle that turned out to be one of the most interesting aspects of the story. The series featured Tetra Boy, the first ever third Robo in Sentai. This was also the last time that a core team member dies, where after this, they were all 6th or extra Rangers. This series turned out to be extremely popular, and just might have saved the Super Sentai franchise.
Sounds like it.
1992 was the year of Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger, themed around prehistoric dinosaurs and other large creatures. This series focuses on a team of ancient warriors from 170 million years ago,
also known as the Mighty Morphin Rangers here in the States,
who henshin into Zyuranger and take on the witch Bandora, played, of course, by the masterful Machiko Soga. This series is notable for featuring the very first official 6th Ranger in Dragon Ranger, a man named Burai who is the brother of Geki or Tyreno Ranger, leading to an explosive and impactful story between them, filled with heart-stopping action and a premise that's easy to invest into. This was the first season themed around dinosaurs or prehistoric creatures. This was also the first season to focus on fantasy instead of science fiction, and this was the first season to be given an American adaptation.
As Power Rangers, you will have access to a universe of power and will command a fleet of fighting machines called Zords.
I don't get it.
1993 saw the culmination of Toei and Saban's continuous effort to bring Super Sentai to television in the West with Saban's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Power Rangers would utilize various types of footage from Zyuranger, including Henshin footage, mecha footage, and footage from the villains. However, new scenes with American actors would be added. This show would focus on a team of teenagers with attitude who were summoned by Zordon and Alpha 5 to defend the city of Angel Grove from Rita Repulsa and morph into the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Power Rangers became an absolute cultural phenomenon in the West and would continue to spawn semi-annual releases well into the future. Back Back in Japan, 1993 was looking great with an epic new season of Super Sentai in the form of Gosei Sentai Dairanger. This season utilized some unique themes such as Chinese mythology and kung fu with some of the most hard-hitting and visually dynamic action that the series had ever seen before. This show features a team of heroes assembled by Master Kaku because of their high levels of ki, so that they can battle an ancient threat known as the Gorma tribe. This show's mecha and villain footage, as well as Kiba Ranger, were used for Season 2 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Kiba Ranger was a young boy named Ko, and he appeared to grow into an adult when Henshining.
Not confusing at all.
Dairanger added a more aggressive edge to the series, and fans loved it. After Dairanger focused on Chinese themes and story elements, Toei would pivot to Japanese themes with the Ninja Sentai Kaku Ranger. Kaku Ranger featured a unique and charismatic team of ninjas as they would fight against the yokai. Although this show focuses on Japanese themes, it is partially inspired by the famous Chinese book Journey to the West, a story about a varied mix of personalities joining together to go on a journey. Footage from this show was used for Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers, and the working title for this show was Ninja Sentai Go Ninja.
Okay.
1995 brought us Choriki Sentai O-Ranger, a season themed around ancient civilizations. In this season, the O-Rangers would take on the Machine Empire Baranoia.
Okay, what's this Zeo Ranger?
This show was the 20th anniversary of Go Ranger, and consequently Toei wanted to have a darker tone that would appeal to older audiences. However, some saddening real-life circumstances occurred, such as a chemical attack in a subway and an earthquake in Kobe that both unfortunately ended the lives of many people. This resulted in a tone shift during the season in response to these events. In the West, this show was adapted into Power Rangers Zeo.
Yeah.
O-Ranger struggled in terms of television ratings, but actually broke records in regards to toy sales.
Well, with them having all kinds of machines to sell, I wonder why.
Also in 1995, Super Sentai began what would become a tradition with the very first installment of the Versus series of movies, in O-Ranger Ole vs. Kaku Ranger. This was a non-canon Sentai project in which both teams would team up together to fight a strange new yokai. This film would lay the groundwork for how Sentai team-up projects would work in the future.
Power Ranger.
1996 saw the release of one of the funniest seasons in the history of Sentai, the vehicle-themed Gekiso Sentai Car Ranger. Being a parody of Turbo Ranger, Car Ranger leaned heavily into comedy and featured some unique elements that would differentiate the season from others, one of which was a wannabe 6th Ranger named White Racer. Car Ranger was adapted into Power Rangers Turbo, which even got its own movie in the West.
I remember that
Car Ranger
one.
featured a lot of slapstick-type humor and took quite a few chances with the story, delivering a charming and lighthearted season at a time when Japan needed it.
Mega Ranger.
With the release of 1997's Dingy Sentai Mega Ranger, the fandom would be treated to a cool new show themed around virtual reality, video games, and space. Paying homage to Bioman and featuring a team of high school students as they take on Nezarigia, Mega Ranger would feature many high-tech gadgets and advanced technology that had never been seen before. This series also featured holograms on the helmets of each Ranger to denote their ability, and featured the first Silver Ranger in the franchise, as well as the incredibly cool and evil Neji Ranger.
Nice. Also nice Psycho Ranger.
This show was adapted into Power Rangers in Space, the final season of the Zordon era of Power Rangers. Mega Ranger was another dynamic and exciting season of the franchise, and the future of Super Sentai looked brighter than ever.
Agreed. I would say that the Psycho Rangers were my favorite enemies to ever see because I had that on VHS and I would rewatch it like crazy.
1998's Super Sentai release was Seiju Sentai Gingaman, or Star Beast Squad Gingaman, featuring a team of warriors who take on the space pirates Balban. Gingaman uses quite a few motifs and themes, many of which are callbacks to the earlier Sentai seasons, such as legendary warriors, knights, and pirates. This was the final Sentai series to air alongside a Metal Hero show, and the final season to feature the word man in the title. This was also the last Sentai series to use illustrated eye catches before and after commercials. Gingaman was adapted into Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, and Gingaman was the first Sentai season in which the episodes weren't referred to as episodes, but instead chapters.
Interesting. Lightspeed Rescue in the US.
1999 brought us a Sentai themed around emergency services in QQ Sentai Go-Go 5. This show featured a team of 5 siblings as they battle against the Saima clan. Being themed around emergency services and rescues, this show featured heart-stopping action and a true sense of danger for our heroes. It was very clear from the first episode that this would be an action and drama-heavy season, but Toei would be sure to add just enough charm to keep things optimistic. This show was adapted into Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, and Go-Go 5 was the last Sentai series to only feature 5 Rangers, with none being added later. With 2000 being the last year of the millennium, the world was obsessed with time, and Japan was no different, leading to the release of Mirai Sentai Time Ranger. Asking fans to grasp the infinite future, this show had a time travel theme, and as such, it featured a team of time-traveling soldiers, with 4 of them being from the year 3000, as they take on Don Donero and the Launders. Time Ranger went in bold new directions with the story, unafraid to explore a darker tone, and this season would go down in history as one of the most mature Sentai seasons of all time.
No kidding. I still remember the villain there.
This Sentai was adapted into Power Rangers Time Force in the West, and Time Ranger was the first Sentai season to feature the now iconic Super Sentai series logo at the beginning of every episode. This was also the first Sentai season to have a red 6th Ranger, as well as the first season to air alongside a Kamen Rider show, which was Kuga. In 2001, Toei released Hyakuju Sentai Gao Ranger, an animal-themed Sentai. This series followed a group of warriors as they fight against Org. Being an animal-themed Sentai, Gao Ranger had a wild tone and style that really worked well. The show would also feature some unique elements that hadn't been seen before. Gao Ranger was the first Sentai to feature auxiliary mecha that can interact and combine with the other mecha featured on the show. This was the first Sentai where the entire team used cell phones to Henshin, and this was the first Sentai to have longer, extended roll calls for each Ranger. Gao Ranger was adapted into Power Rangers Wild Force, and this was the first Sentai season to be released on DVD.
What I see.
2002 saw the release of another ninja-themed Sentai, in Ninpu Sentai Hurricaneer. This series had a focus on elemental ninjutsu powers and followed the students of a ninja academy as they fight against the group that killed many of their fellow ninja students, the evil space ninja group Jakanja. This series took what worked with Kaku Ranger, but dialed up the action and charm to deliver an incredibly well-balanced and memorable season, complete with a stellar cast and several unique new characters that would further differentiate it from other seasons. We would start with 3 Rangers, before adding the insect-themed duo, the Go Riders, and the incredibly cool and entertaining Shurikinger. Eventually adapted into Power Rangers Ninja Storm, this is the first season to feature 2 red and 2 blue Rangers on the same team, and this show was originally planned to be called Dainin Sentai Ninja Man or Great Ninja Squad Ninja Man.
I think Hurricane Ranger works.
Toei would release another Dino-themed season in 2003 with Bakuryu Sentai Aba Ranger, following a team of heroes brought together by their dino guts to fight against the Evolians. The premise of this show was very unique, having to do with a parallel Dino Earth that was created when a meteor struck Earth millions of years ago. Aba Ranger would also introduce the world to one of the coolest, most intimidating villains in the history of Sentai that would eventually become an ally and an Aba Ranger himself, Abare Kira. Footage of this show would be used for Power Rangers Dino Thunder, and this was the first season where the only female ranger on the team is a Yellow Ranger. 2004 would see the release of Tokuso Sentai Deca Ranger, featuring a new mystery theme, along with other police elements. Deca Ranger follows a charismatic group of officers from SPD as they take on space criminals called alienizers. The word Deca is Japanese slang for detective, hence the name. Deca Ranger utilized several unique mechanics to help the team solve crimes, including Jasmine's ability to use ESP via touch, as well as Sin standing on his head in order to figure things out. All of the Rangers featured on the show are overflowing with personality, and the likability and charm of the show would keep it popular for years to come. Deca Ranger is also notable for featuring several auxiliary Rangers who make limited appearances while Henshin. Doggy Kruger, also known as Deca Master, is a dog who serves as the mentor for Deca Ranger. Swan becomes Deca Swan, and we even see Deca Bright, who is Deca Break's superior officer. This series featured the most protagonist Rangers ever at the time.
And there we go.
Deca Ranger would be adapted into Power Rangers SPD, and Deca Ranger featured 2 separate outros, both of which are of extremely high quality and very catchy. This season is unique in the fact that there isn't really an evil organization, but rather they tend to fight alienizers who are operating in their own interest. Deca Ranger is also the only Sentai where every main ranger goes by a nickname.
I'll stop it there for now. Like I said, that was a pretty fun one so far. I'm looking forward to seeing what else is the background to this series. But in the meantime, please like, comment, subscribe down below. Let's keep on spreading this channel to more people so they can enjoy it as well. Looking forward to seeing you guys there, and we'll get to the second half of the Heisei Era soon. Take care, guys. I'll see you in the next part. Bye!